Hey, Teak Nation, this is Zachary Scott, Director of Fraternal Growth at Teak Headquarters. I want to spend a few moments talking to you about the Histor role. Specifically, how are you cultivating alumni relationships, and how are you improving and capitalizing on your social media branding? It's not going to be an in-depth dive. It's going to be real cursory, but hopefully by the end of this, you have some of the basic tools that you need to be successful. You all know when it comes to alumni relationships, one of the key pieces is to make sure that you're inviting your alumni members out to events that you have, making sure that you're adding alumni to social media groups, and to send out your newsletters to those alumni members. But how are we capitalizing and cultivating new alumni relationships? Specifically, one area that I would encourage all groups to utilize, any new Histor, any active Histor to utilize, has to be your regional director or associate regional director. Reaching out to that individual to get you a comprehensive list of alumni addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, so on and so forth. That is all recorded in our database at headquarters. And by simply asking one of those individuals that works with your group at headquarters for that information, you can then expand upon potentially the list that you already have, or that your alumni association has, or that your board already has. It's important to find new ways to cultivate, and that's probably the easiest way. Cross-referencing that with who you have listed on the scroll, etc. One of the other pieces is to utilize the alumni relationships that you already do have. Ask them to think of the key leaders who they remember from their time as an undergraduate. Their Preetni, their big brothers, their little brothers, their hegemon. Think of the members that have had an impact in your collegiate experience as a teak, and ask them to think about the individuals that had an experience much greater than normal with them. Get them to think about those key leaders in the group at their time. Have them record the names, spend some time with them, potentially looking these individuals up on social media to see if they have a social media account, thinking back to the last time that they interacted with that individual, talking to other members that they know in the group, and ask them when the last time they had a touch point with that person was. These are some very easy ways that we can cultivate new alumni relationships, as well as building upon even the relationships that we already have, whether that be with the staff members or with current alumni members. The next important piece, after you've established who you have at your base, is what does that relationship look like? Are we simply just asking for money constantly, inviting them cursorily to a couple of events throughout the semester, throughout the academic year? We send them maybe a quarterly newsletter. We do the bare minimum, really. We've got to do a better job of capitalizing on these really simple, basic things. Sending thank you cards, whether an alumni member donates their time, their money, whatever it may be. They come out to an event, send them a thank you card. They donate a few dollars, send them a thank you card. Whatever it may be, whatever interaction you're getting, spend some time to invest in that relationship and spend time working with your other members, your new members, your actives, even some of your new alumni members, to work on that relationship building skill. We talk about it a lot when it comes to recruitment, but it's a very big piece of cultivating those relationships that you already have with your alumni base. Find ways to send thank you cards. Find ways to send updates, whether it be through email, through mailing, whatever that is, outside of just the newsletter. And if you're only sending a quarterly newsletter, find ways to improve it to a point where maybe in between the quarterly one, which you can mail out, send via email, post in your social media groups, send things out in other mediums that maybe are a little bit more broken down. They focus on maybe some of the very basic pieces, what the main highlights are, right? Maybe it's our recruitment results. We send that out to a picture of our new member class and our hegemon. We send that out to our active alumni. We find ways to let them know well in advance what events are coming up in the spring semester that we have on our book, what things are coming up in the winter time frame, whatever that may be. But in between maybe those major newsletters, completing a very cursory level alumni newsletter in there to really capitalize on our relationships. We've got to find ways to do these very basic things at a very high level, expecting ourselves to be held to a higher standard in order to build better relationships. And I mentioned social media earlier. Social media isn't just an area where you can be connecting with your fellow frauders. It's also an area where you can be establishing a connection between your brand and your community. How are we doing that? When you think about your various social media accounts specifically, what quality is being put out there? Again, when it comes to recruitment, we talk often about the quality, quantity, etc. What is the quality of our social media brand that we put out there for anybody in the world to be able to see? Is it the standard that we want? Is it the standard that we expect? Think about that and utilize these next few months to really prepare yourself for the coming semester, next few weeks to really capitalize in on how you can do a better job of keeping your brand consistent to the expectations that you all have for yourselves and that we as teaks hold for each other. Find ways to keep a solid rhythm going with your posts. Maybe it's every day, maybe it's every other day, but find a consistency within that. Posting teaks of the week, posting a sweetheart on maybe a specific day, highlighting members who are a part of your just general community that aren't even teaks, academic advisors who play a critical role in your life, volunteers and alumni that have played a big role in the last month or last few weeks when it comes to recruitment or organizing a softball event or whatever it may be. Think of the bigger picture and don't get distraught when you think that you've run out of quality post or content. There's always something to be found. Find a way to backlog it to where you have an extensive timeline of events to post about or pictures to then post when you find yourself in kind of a dead period, when maybe you're in the middle of winter break or the coming summer break, whatever it may be. But find a way to create a consistency in your image and in your brand as you push that stuff out there on social media. Another piece is the types of photos and images and videos and other things that we are sharing on our social media. Make sure that those are high quality. Make sure that it is consistent with the brand that you expect at your university and that we as teaks expect of one another. Find a way to connect with your brothers, get those candid photos out there, but make sure, again, that they are consistent, right? Maybe you get a great action shot, but have there be a message in that caption that you can resonate and connect with individuals who are looking at it. Find ways to actively engage with your St. Jude posts. Find ways to really take advantage of either St. Jude rallies or whatever it may be through your social media platforms, Instagram Live, whatever it may be. We've got to do a better job of holding ourselves accountable. And it starts with you in the Histor role. Establish what that brand is going to be, what that expectation is going to be, and follow through on it. Regardless if you have a social media chairman who runs the accounts, the external image and the connecting with alumni members and some of these other people who aren't a part of our fraternity, it comes down to the Histor role. And it's not something that we always talk about. When you run for election, you think that maybe this role or a couple others are going to be easy jobs. But in my opinion, it's one of the hardest because that expectation needs to be clear. It needs to be established routinely and it needs to be followed through on. How are you setting that standard and then holding everyone to that? Find ways to be innovative, find ways to have fun with it, but always remember that you need to be consistent in the messaging and the branding of your organization and of Teak. Those are really the major points that I wanted to make sure I highlighted for you all. I thank you for your time and I thank you for your dedication as you come into this Histor role. It's an extremely important piece of making sure the fraternity runs smoothly on your campus. And hopefully you've gained a couple of new tools in your arsenal to be more effective at your role. Find ways to continue expanding upon the relationships with your alumni that you already have, and find ways to connect with the headquarters staff that you have as well. It's a massive resource out there. There are tons of resource guides for the Histor position specifically, as well as social media and branding, alumni connections. But there is also a wealth of knowledge within that staff, within that volunteer army around you. Tap into it, utilize those resources, and you'll be amazed at what you're able to accomplish. Again, I thank you for your time, and I can't wait to see what you're able to accomplish for our fraternity. Thank you, Teak Nation, and until next time, love you guys.